The average British household has less than 3 days of food and water resilience. 3 days. That means if your local supply chain hiccups for 72 hours, a burst water main, a power cut, a transport strike. And here's the thing. June 2026 is shaping up to be one of those months where multiple pressure points arrive at the same time. Heat, grid stress, food price uncertainty, cyber risk, seasonal storms, post-bank holiday supply gaps. None of these are conspiracy theories. All of them are documented, foreseeable, and manageable if you act before everyone else starts paying attention. But what if you had a simple, practical list? Not a bunker fantasy, not panic buying. Just 15 specific items across 7 categories that make your home genuinely harder to disrupt. That's exactly what this video is. Before we get into the list, welcome back if you're a regular, and if you're new here, this channel is about calm, practical preparedness for the UK. No fear-mongering. No extreme scenarios. Just real information for normal homes. Subscribe now if that's what you're looking for, because this list is exactly what this channel is built. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to give you 15 items in order of urgency. I'll tell you what each one does, what most people get wrong about it, and a specific tip or number you can act on today. By the end, you'll have a complete action plan for water, food, power, light, information, health, and something most prep channels never talk about. Let's go. Item 1. Water starving. The 72-hour rule. Let's start with the most boring item on the list, and the one that matters most. Water storage. And I don't mean a random 6-pack of bottles under the stairs that you bought 2 years ago and haven't touched since. I mean proper, food-grade water containers that you fill, label with a date, store correctly, and rotate every 6 months. Here's the reality. Thames Water alone recorded over 250,000 customers affected by supply interruptions in 2023. And that's a normal year. Going into summer, the pressure on water supply increases because demand spikes from garden use, hose pipes, and higher general consumption, all while dry weather reduces reservoir levels. A contamination warning, a burst main, or a local infrastructure failure can cut supply to your home with almost no notice. Most people have nothing sorted. Not because they don't care, but because water feels theoretical until the moment it stops coming out of the tap. At that point, every shop in your area is selling the same thing at the same time to the same panicked people. What most people get wrong is buying whatever is convenient rather than what is functional. BPA-free, food-grade containers, not repurposed juice bottles or old plastic that hasn't been cleaned, stored somewhere cool and dark, filled from the tap, and labeled with the date you filled them. The target is 3 liters per person per day for drinking and basic hygiene. For a family of 4, that's 36 liters for 72 hours. Get a 20-liter food-grade container and a couple of backups, and you're most of the way there. It costs less than £30 and takes 20 minutes. Water is item 1 because nothing else on this list works without it. But water only solves one problem. Power cuts are a completely different beast, and that's where we're going next. Item 2. Home backup power. The gap between hoping and having. Power cuts in the UK average around 47 minutes in duration, but that average hides the outliers. In 2022 and 2023 combined, an estimated 2.4 million UK customers experienced outages lasting 3 hours or more. And that figure doesn't account for the compounding effect of storm damage, which is increasingly common and increasingly severe. This section is sponsored by All Powers, who sent me their R4000 unit with the SP039 600-watt solar panel. I've been testing it properly, not just plugging a phone in and calling it a day, but running it on my fridge, my router, my food dehydrator, and standard home appliances. Here's my honest take. Most people during a power cut don't need to power the whole house. They need to keep the fridge cold, the router online, the phones charged, the lights on, and any medical devices running. The R4000 does all of that with room to spare. The Life EPO 4 battery is the right chemistry for home backup, more charge cycles, better thermal stability. Paired with the 600-watt panel, it gives you genuine solar recharge capability, which means a multi-day outage doesn't drain it flat. What most people get wrong with backup power is waiting until demand spikes. This type of unit becomes difficult to source quickly when a storm is forecast or a news story triggers a buying wave. The time to buy it is before the queue forms. I'll come back to why the power item connects to something much more specific and much more urgent for millions of households later in this list. Stay with me. Power gives you options. But here's the question nobody asks. If the gas is off and the power's down, can you actually cook anything? Item 3. Non-electric cooking. The skill that beats the kit. Food storage is only as good as your ability to use it. If you've got 14 days of oats, rice, pasta, and tins, and you have no way to heat any of it, you don't have a food plan. You have expensive anxieties stored in a cupboard. A non-electric cooking method is not complicated. It could be a camping stove with a gas canister, a Kelly kettle, an alcohol stove, a small outdoor burner you already use for barbecues. The format matters less than whether you've actually tested it. Here's what most people get wrong. They buy the kit and never use it until they actually need it. So the first time you're trying to boil water in the dark, stressed, with tired kids or elderly relatives around you, that is not a plan. That is a gamble. Test it this week. Not in a disruption. Now, can you boil water? Can you heat soup? Can you cook rice or pasta? Do you have enough fuel for 72 hours of basic cooking? If the answer to any of those is no, fix it before June. And this is important enough that I'm going to say it directly. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills approximately 50 people per year in the UK, according to NHS data. It is invisible, odorless, and moves fast. Any gas or combustion cooking setup goes outside. Always. No exceptions. Tent porch, garage door cracked, living room window open, none of that is good enough. Outside. Keep it simple. One outdoor cooking method. Enough fuel. Lighters and matches as backup. A basic meal plan you can execute without electricity. And the knowledge that you've already done it at least once before. Item 4. 14-day food buffer. The warehouse you never built. Most people think of food storage as survival rations, vacuum-sealed pouches of something you'd never normally eat, bought in a moment of anxiety and stored until they expire unused. A 14-day food buffer is normal food. Food you already cook. Food your household already eats. The only difference is that you maintain a deeper stock of it and rotate it properly. Here's the context that makes this urgent for June specifically. UK supermarkets typically hold 3 to 5 days of warehouse stock at any given time. That's the entire buffer between normal supply and empty shelves. According to IGD, the grocery industry's research body, the UK supply chain runs on extremely tight inventory margins, efficient in good times, fragile under stress. And here's the financial argument. UK food price inflation peaked at 19.2% in March 2023, according to the ONS. While it's come down from that peak, prices have not reversed. They've merely stopped rising as fast. A 14-day buffer at today's prices is a hedge against tomorrow's prices. Every tin of beans, every bag of oats you bought last month at this month's price is a small financial win. What most people get wrong is trying to build the buffer all at once. Don't. Add one extra item to your regular shop every week. After 3 months, you have a meaningful buffer. After 6 months, you have a serious one. Buy what you eat. Put the newest items at the back. Use the oldest items first. That's it. 14 days because it's realistic for most UK homes. Not a warehouse. Not a bunker. Just enough that no ordinary disruption, price spike, delivery failure, supply chain chaos becomes a personal emergency. Item 5. Bairdi or wind-up radio. The oldest technology on this list is also the most reliable. This one sounds old-fashioned. It is old-fashioned. That's exactly why it works. In every major civil emergency in the UK since 2000, floods, storms, terror events, infrastructure failures, BBC Radio 4 has served as the primary public emergency broadcast channel. This isn't a coincidence or a legacy habit. It's documented Cabinet Office policy. When COBR, the Cabinet Office briefing rooms, coordinates emergency response, radio is the primary channel for public communication. What most people don't know is that mobile phone networks are among the first things to fail or become overloaded in a local emergency. During the 2022 Scottish storms, mobile network availability in affected areas dropped by an estimated 60 to 70% within 6 hours of the storm hitting. People who were relying on their phones for news, navigation, and family contact found themselves with nothing. A battery or wind-up radio gives you three things: verified information, no dependency on phone signal or internet, and the ability to know whether a situation is improving. That's not nothing. In a serious disruption, that's everything. One practical tip: if you're buying a radio, get one that handles both DAB and FM. Digital DAB transmitters require mains power to operate. In a regional outage, FM transmitters running on backup generators stay on the air longer. FM is your fallback. We've covered the basics. 5 items that most people know they should have and still haven't sorted. Now here's where the list gets into territory that most prep channels don't touch. The next 10 items are where real preparedness separates from wishful thinking. Item 6. Head torches and LED lanterns. 2 hands-free beats, 1 phone torch. If a power cut happens at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, when you're tired and the kids are already in bed, you do not want to be navigating your house with a phone torch in one hand. Your phone is also your communication device, your map, your alarm, and your torch, and every minute you use it as a torch. Head torches are cheap, simple, and genuinely underrated. A decent head torch costs between $12 and $30 and keeps both hands free for everything that matters: checking the fuse box, cooking outside, helping a family member, walking safely. Get 1 per adult in the house at minimum. What most people get wrong is buying a single torch and calling it done. Redundancy matters. Specifically, 1 head torch per adult, 1 LED lantern per main room you'll actually use during a cut. A lantern with a 200 to 300 lumen output is enough to light a room comfortably for hours. Rechargeable is useful for sustainability, but keep a set of spare batteries in the same drawer because redundancy is the entire point. Candles have a place, but candles create fire risk, particularly when people are tired, moving in the dark, or not thinking clearly. The standard should be electric light first, lanterns and head torches, with candles as an aesthetic choice when things are calm. Fixed location matters as much as the gear itself. Decide now where the head torch and lantern live. Everyone in the house should know. That's the entire system. Item 7. Cash and paper backups. The analog safety net. In January 2023, a major IT failure at one of the UK's largest banks left millions of customers unable to access their accounts, make payments, or use their cards for up to 48 hours. This was not a storm. This was not a war. This was a software update. Everything in modern life runs on a screen. Banking apps, contactless payments, saved passwords, digital insurance documents, emergency contacts saved only in a phone. That convenience is extraordinary right up until the moment the screen stops working. According to the FCA's Financial Lives survey, approximately 1 in 4 UK adults holds less than 100 in accessible cash at any given time. That's not a rainy day fund. That's not even a bad afternoon fund. What most people get wrong is thinking that their backup plan is their second card. Cards need networks. Networks need power. Power is exactly what we're planning around. Keep a small amount of cash at home. I'd suggest 50 to 100 in mixed small denominations. Not thousands. Not your life savings under the mattress. Just enough to buy fuel, food, medicine, or a taxi if the machines are down locally. Then print the basics: emergency contacts, insurance policy numbers, your NHS number, your GP's phone number, the numbers of a couple of local taxis, and any account details you'd need if your phone was gone. A paper map in the car is not embarrassing. It's smart. Because sometimes the best backup to modern technology is something that runs on light and your own eyes. If this video is giving you practical value, hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people in the UK find this content when they need it. Item 8. Water filter. Your second line of defense. Water storage covers you for the first days of a disruption. A water filter is what covers you after that, and it gives you options that pure storage never can. Here's the context that makes this specific. The Drinking Water Inspectorate's 2023 annual report recorded 18 confirmed drinking water quality incidents in England and Wales that year. 18. That's not counting the ones that fell below the reporting threshold. Most were localized and short-lived, but they weren't zero. And during a heat wave, when algae bloom in reservoirs increases and treatment demand spikes, the risk is higher. What most people get wrong when buying a water filter is not checking what it actually removes. This matters because filters are not all the same. Some are designed to remove bacteria and sediment. Some reduce heavy metals. Some target chemicals. Some are rated to NSF ANSI Standard 53, which is the certification you want for genuine microbial reduction. For most UK homes, I'd look at a gravity-fed countertop filter, the kind that sits on your worktop, doesn't require power, and filters water slowly into a lower reservoir. Brands like Dalton and similar gravity systems are well regarded. For outdoor use or a portable backup, the Sawyer Squeeze or similar squeeze filters are lightweight and effective. The critical thing is this: test it before you need it. Read the instructions. Know what it removes and what it doesn't. There's one item coming up later in this list that ties your water plan, your power plan, and your health plan into a single connected system. I'll get to it in a few minutes. Stay with me. Item 9. Heatwave Kit. Britain isn't built for this, and the numbers prove it. I want to say something directly before we go through this item. The 2022 UK heatwave killed 2,803 people. That is the confirmed figure from the UK Health Security Agency. Not a projection, not an estimate. A confirmed, documented mortality figure from a single summer heatwave in Britain. That number exists because Britain's housing stock is not designed for heat. It is designed for cold. We build homes to trap warmth. Double glazing, cavity wall insulation, dark roof materials, everything that is a virtue in January. UK homes are among the worst performing in Europe when temperatures rise above 30 soar, with indoor temperatures in south-facing rooms regularly exceeding outdoor temperatures. Here's the number that should concern everyone watching this right now. The Met Office has confirmed that heat waves in the UK are now 5 times more likely than they were in the pre-industrial period. The 40s cross threshold, which was crossed for the first time in recorded UK history in July 2022, is now a plausible annual event. Not certain. Plausible. So what does a practical heatwave kit actually look like? A USB-powered fan. Electrolyte sachets, not just water, because sweating depletes sodium and potassium, and overhydration without electrolytes is genuinely dangerous. A digital thermometer so you know what your indoor temperature actually is. Blackout or reflective window coverings for your south-facing rooms. SPF 30 or above. A wide brim hat. A spray bottle filled with water. The strategy matters as much as the kit. Keep south-facing curtains and blinds closed during the day. Cross-ventilate from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. when outdoor temperature drops below indoor. Wet a flannel and apply to the back of your neck and wrists. Check on elderly relatives and neighbors. Keep extra water for pets. They're affected before you are. Heat affects everything on this list, including the medications in your fridge, which is exactly where we're going next. Item 10. First aid kit and medication buffer. Don't be helpless over basic things. In any disruption, from a minor power cut to a multi-day event, small medical problems become serious ones when you don't have the basics. A cut that needs cleaning. A burn from outdoor cooking. A headache that becomes debilitating. A blister that gets infected. A tick bite that goes unnoticed. A stomach bug without rehydration salts. The British Red Cross recommends a home first aid kit that covers plasters in multiple sizes, sterile bandages, antiseptic wipes, burn gel, painkillers, both paracetamol and ibuprofen, antihistamines for allergic reactions, rehydration sachets, tweezers, disposable gloves, a thermometer, a first aid annual, and a foil emergency blanket. What most people get wrong is buying a pre-packaged kit, putting it in a cupboard, and never opening it again. Pre-packaged kits expire. Medications go out of date. Antiseptic wipes dry out. Check your kit every 6 months. I tie this to the same date I check smoke alarm batteries, which means it actually happens. Add your personal medications to the list. If you're on a regular prescription, don't let it run down to the last day before requesting a repeat. Most GPs will accommodate a reasonable buffer for documented conditions. Speak to your pharmacy or practice about what's sensible and allowed. The goal is not to become your own doctor. The goal is to not be helpless over things that are genuinely basic. That's item 10. And now we're moving into 5 items that most preparedness channels never cover. Every single one of them matters. And one of them might be the most important thing on this entire list. Item 11. Medication Cold Chain Kit. The gap that affects millions. Here's a number I want you to sit with for a moment. Approximately 4.2 million people in the UK are currently living with diabetes. A significant proportion of them use insulin. Insulin that requires refrigeration. Insulin that degrades when it gets too warm. And almost none of them have a plan for what happens to that insulin during a power cut. Insulin is the most common, but certain antibiotics, biologics, some eye drops, hormone therapies, and other medications also require cold chain storage. The MHRA, the UK's Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, publishes clear guidance on medication storage temperatures, and the NHS cold chain standard for delivered medications. The moment your fridge stops, you have a ticking clock. What most people get wrong is assuming it probably stays fine. It doesn't. At 37 degrees, a temperature entirely possible inside a UK home or car during a July heatwave, insulin can degrade to the point of reduced effectiveness within 48 hours. The solution is simpler than most people think. A Frio cooling wallet is an evaporative cooling pouch that requires only water to activate, no electricity, no ice. Clinical data from the manufacturer shows it maintains insulin within safe storage range for over 45 hours at 37 Celsius ambient temperature. Cost: approximately 15 to 25. For something that could make the difference between functional and non-functional medication, that is remarkable value. Alternatively, a small 12-volt cooler powered by your backup power station, which is exactly the connection to item 2 that I mentioned earlier. If you have medications that require refrigeration, a dedicated small cooler powered by your backup unit is a specific justified use case for that investment. Know what medications in your household require cold storage. Check the storage requirements on the box or patient information leaflet. Plan accordingly. This is the item that connects your power plan and your health plan into one. Item 12. Analog Identity Kit. When your phone dies, who are you? In July 2007, flooding in Gloucestershire left tens of thousands of people without mains water for up to 17 days, the longest supply interruption in modern UK history. In the aftermath, one of the most common problems that emergency coordinators reported was this: people couldn't access emergency housing funds, couldn't make insurance claims, and couldn't prove identity or medical history because everything they needed was either at home and unreachable or stored giddily on a phone with a dead battery. This is the analog identity kit. Not the same as cash. Not the same as a paper address book. This is about being able to prove who you are and what you're entitled to when the digital world isn't working. The kit is one waterproof pouch, A5 size, containing a photocopy of your passport or driving license, your NHS number, your GP surgery name and phone number, your insurance policy numbers and provider contact details, your bank's main customer service phone number, 2 or 3 emergency contact names and numbers, and your home address written down. What most people get wrong is keeping originals rather than photocopies. You don't want to lose your actual passport in an evacuation. Copies are fine. Laminate them if you want extra protection. The whole thing takes 30 minutes to put together and costs almost nothing. Government guidance on emergency preparedness, including the Cabinet Office's Ready Scotland and Prepare pages, specifically includes document copies as a recommended household preparedness action. This is not obscure. It's just underacted on. Know who you are on paper. Because in a real disruption, digital identity is surprisingly fragile. Item 13. Cyber disruption preparedness. The attack vector nobody preps for. The NCSC, the National Cybersecurity Center, which is part of GCHQ, published its 2024 annual review with a clear and direct statement. State-sponsored cyber attacks on UK critical national infrastructure represent a Tier 1 national security threat. That means water treatment, energy grids, hospitals, transport systems, financial infrastructure. Most people who watch preparedness content have thought about floods, storms, power cuts, and supply chain disruptions. Almost none of them have thought about what happens when a cyber attack causes a power cut, or disrupts water treatment, or takes a regional hospital offline. The 2021 Colonial Pipeline attack in the United States caused fuel shortages across the southeastern U.S. The UK's national grid and CNI operators face documented equivalent threats. This is not speculation. This is published policy. What does cyber preparedness look like for a household? It's not complicated. Keep an offline copy of your most important passwords, either printed and stored securely or on an encrypted USB using something like KeePass. Know your bank's main phone number without needing to look it up. Have offline copies of key account information, not cloud synced, actually offline. And understand that your preparedness for a physical disruption is also your preparedness for a cyber-caused one. The gear is the same. The mindset is the same. Most people who watch prep videos haven't thought about this one. And in terms of speed, how quickly a cyber disruption can cascade into physical consequences. This may be the item with the shortest warning time on this entire list. Digital resilience is not technical. It's just analog thinking applied to digital dependency. And that brings us to the item that no piece of gear can replace. Item 14. Community coordination. Your neighbors are part of your prep. The UKHSA's analysis of the 2022 heatwave, the same event that killed 2,803 people, identified social isolation as the primary driver of preventable deaths. Not equipment failure. Not lack of fans or air conditioning. Social isolation. People died because nobody checked on them. In 2003, the European heatwave killed over 14,800 people in France alone. Post-event research was unambiguous. Isolated elderly people were approximately 5 times more likely to die than those with regular daily social contact during the peak heat period. 5 times. Most preparedness content treats readiness as an entirely individual exercise. Buy your gear. Store your food. Run your numbers. And there is genuine value in all of that. But if you're the only person in your street who's thought about any of this, you are still more vulnerable than you would be with prepared neighbors, and they are significantly more vulnerable without you. Community coordination doesn't require a formal group or a committee. It requires 3 things. First, knowing who on your street is elderly, disabled, lives alone, or has medical needs, not to be intrusive, but to know who to check on when things get difficult. Second, a simple communication plan, a small WhatsApp group with immediate neighbors, or a physical signal like a light in the window or a note on the door meaning I'm okay. Third, a conversation. Just one conversation with one neighbor about what you'd each do in a power cut or a heat wave. That conversation is worth more than most items on this list. It costs nothing. It takes 15 minutes. And in a serious event, it is the difference between someone being found in time and someone not being found at all. We've covered 14 items. Item 15 is the one I almost didn't include because it sounds abstract, but it might be the most important thing on this entire list. Item 15. The Written Home Resilience Plan. The item that makes everything else work. You can own every single item on this list. The water containers. The power station. The food buffer. The filter, the radio, the first aid kit, the cooling wallet, the document pouch. You can have all of it. And you can still panic. You can still waste critical time looking for things. You can still have family members who don't know where anything is or what to do. Because gear without a plan is just expensive clutter. Both FEMA, the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the UK Cabinet Office's Emergency Preparedness Guidance identify the written household plan as the single highest leverage preparedness action available to a household. Not the most exciting. Not the most expensive. The most effective. Research from FEMA's household preparedness studies suggests that households with a written emergency plan are approximately 3 times more likely to act calmly and effectively in the first 30 minutes of a disruption. Here is what the plan contains. 1 A4 sheet, front and back if needed, but ideally front only. where all your gear is stored, by item name. The location of your gas shutoff, your water stopcock, and your fuse box or consumer unit. 3 to 5 emergency contact names and numbers. A designated meeting point if your family is separated when something happens. A brief priority action list for 3 scenarios: power cut, water outage, and extreme heat. And a note of any household-specific needs, medications, mobility issues, pets. That is it. Print it. Put it somewhere everyone knows. Inside a kitchen cupboard door works well. Tell every adult in your household where it is. Revisit it once a year. What most people get wrong is keeping all of this in their head. Plans in your head dissolve under stress. Plans on paper don't. Every other item on this list becomes more effective the moment you have a written plan to anchor it. The water containers have a location. The power station has a priority load list. The medications have a cold chain protocol. The community contacts have a check-in plan. Everything connects. That's item 15. And that's the list. Let's bring it all together. 15 items to get before June 1st, 2026. Water storage, food-grade containers, labeled and rotated. Home backup power, enough to run your essentials, not your whole house. Non-electric cooking, tested before you need it, always outdoors. A 14-day food buffer, normal food you already eat, built one item at a time. A battery or wind-up radio, FM as your fallback when DAB drops. Head torches and LED lanterns, 1 per adult, 1 per room, fixed location. Cash and paper backups, 50 to 100 in small denominations. Printed contacts, paper map. A water filter, NSF ANSI 53 certified, tested before it's needed. A heatwave kit, fan, electrolytes, blackout blinds, thermometer, SPF. A proper first aid kit and medication buffer, checked and restocked twice a year. A medication cold chain kit, Frio wallet or dedicated small cooler for anything that requires refrigeration. An analog identity kit, waterproof pouch, photocopies, NHS number, insurance details. Cyber preparedness, offline passwords, bank numbers by heart, analog thinking for digital dependency. Community coordination, know your neighbors, build a simple check-in system, have one conversation. And a written home resilience plan, one A4 sheet that makes everything else work. None of this means something is definitely going to happen on June 1st. That is not the point. The point is that by June, a lot of pressure points overlap. Heat, water demand, energy risk, supply chain fragility, cyber threat season, and the general reality that modern life runs on systems that are efficient but not resilient. The calmest people in any disruption are the ones who prepared before the disruption became obvious. Not because they knew something was coming, because they built options before they needed them. Options are what keep you calm when everyone else is reacting. Options are what let you help your neighbors, your family, your elderly relatives, because you're not scrambling for yourself. So here's what I want from you. Drop a 1 in the comments if you're committing to at least one action from this list this week. Just one. One item sorted is infinitely better than 15 items planned and none done. Subscribe if you want practical, calm, UK-specific preparedness content, no fear-mongering, no extreme scenarios, just real information for normal homes. And if you want to go deeper, I've put together a free blackout checklist in the description. It's the fastest way to get started. And if you're ready to go further right now, I've got a video on screen that walks you through building a complete 72-hour kit for under £50, entirely UK-sourced real products. Click it and I'll see you over there.